Hi everyone, and welcome to the MIC virtual talk series. In our session this evening, we'll be dealing with the Professional Masters of Education, and our speaker is Dr. Margaret Nohilly. My name is Dr. Patrick Cosgrove, and I'm a Student Recruitment Officer here in Mary Immaculate College. So please remember that our session here this evening will be recorded, so you will be able to look at it back again in the coming days if you wish. It'll be up on our website in due course. Also, if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A facility, type in your question, and I'll put it to Dr. Nohilly at the end of our presentation. So I'm going to hand you over to Dr. Nohilly now, and she'll start her presentation on the Professional Masters of Education.
Okay, so good evening everybody, and you're all very, very welcome, and thank you for being with us. As Patrick said, my name is Mags Nohilly, and I lecture in SPHE and Wellbeing in Mary I College, and I also coordinate the Professional Master of Education, more commonly known as the PME programme in Mary I, which is a 2-year postgraduate programme that we run in the college with the sanction of the Department of Education and Skills every year. So we'll move on to the next slide, and what we're going to do is have a look at what the overview of this evening will comprise. So we're going to look at the entry requirements for the programme, which I will refer to from here on in as the PME. We're going to look at the application process. We're going to look at an overview of what the programme comprises across the 2 years. And then, as Patrick outlined, we will have time for questions and answers. So I anticipate that I'll probably present on the broad overview of the programme for the next 20 minutes or so, or 25 minutes. And then at that stage, we will have time for questions and answers. So we'll move on. And our next slide just gives us, I suppose, a definition, if you want, or a description of what the PME programme is. So the Professional Master of Education is a 2-year full-time Level 9 postgraduate professional teacher education programme designed to qualify graduates as primary school teachers. And when you graduate from the PME programme, you are qualified to teach all class levels in the primary school from junior infants to 6th class. But you are also qualified to teach in the areas of additional support, whether it be resource, students with additional needs in the school, and indeed some of our graduates go on to work in special schools, but they would build up, I suppose, their experience and their knowledge of working in the context of a special school through additional continuous professional development after they complete the PME programme. So it graduates you to teach at all levels of teaching that relate to the primary school profession. So moving on to the next slide, we're going to talk about the entry requirements to the programme. And obviously the first entry requirement is that candidates possess a level 8 honours bachelor degree. But in addition to that, there are some entry requirements that have to be met from your leaving certificate in relation to Irish, English and maths. And this year in 2020, there have been some slight changes to those entry requirements. So it's important to be aware of that. And the entry requirements are laid down by the Department of Education and Skills every year. And once they are made available to us in the college by the department, we make them available on our college website. So the Irish requirement this year is a minimum of a H4. The English requirement is a H7 or an O4, and the maths is an O4 or a H7. And those entry requirements are all detailed on our website, which I will provide you the link to later on in the programme. But it's just important that we're aware, in addition to our undergraduate requirement, there is a requirement in relation to your leaving certificate results as well. So moving on to the next slide, we're going to talk about the oral Irish examination that since 2 years ago now is a requirement to complete in order to apply for the PME programme in Mary Immaculate and indeed in other colleges. So candidates are required to take the oral component of Tastas Eorpach na Gaeilge, or the TEG, Man Level B1 Irish examination before they apply to their preferred institutions, including Mary I, for the PME. So in other words, you have to complete the TEG oral Irish examination before you apply to Mary I. A minimum of 65% must be obtained in the TEG exam to be eligible to apply for the PME programme. Now, the dates for the TEG exam are all detailed, and all the application process, because this is a situation that's managed by TEG, or Tastas Eorpach na Gaeilge. So to log on and to get all the information that you require, you go onto the TEG website at www.teg.ie. I'm going to move on to the next slide, and this is the most up-to-date information that is available on the TEG website at the moment. So the TEG examinations for application to the PME programme, when you go onto the TEG website, there's a specific tab that deals with TEG and PME. And examination dates were made available in recent weeks, but there is an additional exam date on the 27th of February 2021. So that means that if you haven't applied to do the TEG yet, and you are interested in applying for the PME programme this year, you still have an opportunity to do so. Now, it did state that the application deadline was 5 p.m. on Sunday, the 14th of February, but it's just important to check the TEG website and see if there are any changes to that. And generally the exams is held in a face-to-face capacity, but obviously this year, because of the coronavirus pandemic and the public health restrictions in relation to same, the exams are being held online. And the fee to apply to take the TEG exam is €100. And your TEG result is once you have a TEG result, you can apply to the PME for the following 2 years. So your result is eligible for 2 years. So if you applied, for example, for TEG this year, you were successful in achieving 65% or above, that also would apply if you were considering applying for TEG in the next academic year. But all of the information, as I said to you, is available on the TEG website. But it's very, very important to realise that unless you have TEG completed and unless you have received minimum of 65% in the TEG examination, you are not eligible to apply for the PME programme in Mary I this year, and will have to consider it for the next year. And that's the same with the other colleges who adhere to the TEG examination. So I'm going to move on next now, and we are going to look at applying to Mary I for the PME. So this is based on the assumption that you have your TEG exam complete and you have your 65% achieved. And obviously then you have to consider your Leaving Certificate results. And there are many students who apply to Mary I for the PME programme while they are still awaiting the final results of their Level 8 degree. And that is fine to do so. And then we give you until a date in July by which you can forward your Level 8 degree results to the college, obviously once they are released to you. So if you were successful at interview, but you were still awaiting your Level 8 results, it would be contingent on you achieving the requirements, which is a minimum of a 2.2 degree. So this year, for the first time, we have an online application for the PME programme. It very much reflects, the handwritten application that in previous years, those considering undertaking the programme would have completed. When you go onto our website, you can go to the homepage of our website, go to the postgraduate section of the website, and you will find a tab there that brings you into all of the information that you require for the PME programme, including the application form. Or I have the link also available there on the slide. The application fee is €50, and the closing date for the application is March 29th, 2021. So it's very important that you bear that date in mind. Application forms are available both in English and in Irish. So you just have to register and then you complete the application form. And the dates for the interview have been set in the college, and they are available on our college website. And the dates for interview are Thursday and Friday, May 27th and May 28th. Normally the interviews are held face-to-face in Mary Immaculate College. However, last year, due to the coronavirus pandemic, the interviews were held virtually. And this year we anticipate, given the ongoing restrictions and the lockdowns that are currently required as a result of the pandemic, that the interviews will be held online or they will be held virtually again. But the dates are Thursday 27th and Friday 28th of May. Okay, so I'm going to move on now, and just this gives you a summary of the type of detail that is required in the application form. Your personal details, obviously your name, address, etc. Your second level education, details of your third level education, your employee history, okay? You don't have to worry about referees for this application. There are a couple of additional questions just telling us a little bit around, you know, your background and, you know, why this course interests you. A declaration that the information that you have provided is correct, and then you complete your application by paying the application fee of €50. So that's just a general summary of the type of material or the type of questions that are asked in the application form. It's a pretty standard form, and I would encourage those of you who are thinking of applying for the PME to get yourselves registered and, you know, start familiarising yourself with completing the form as soon as is practical and possible. Okay, so moving on to the next section now, just some of the supporting documentation that you will be asked to supply with your application. Certified copy of your second level or your Leaving Certificate results, certified copy of your third level results, and obviously if you are awaiting final results of an undergraduate programme, they can be furnished up and to and including the 13th of July, I think it is. So, you know, there is understanding taken of the fact that you mightn't have your degree finished just at the moment. If you have a work experience in a teaching environment, you can get a letter from the principal of the school. Applicants who have or will complete a level 8 honours degree, certified copy of your transcript, certified copy of your TEG results, and you know, there will be a receipt produced of your application fee. So that's the supporting documentation that goes with the application. And sometimes, as we all know, it can take a little bit of time just to root out the Leaving Certificate results and the parchments and the, you know, degree parchments, etc. So they're the types of things I think in the coming weeks, you know, to get on top of, particularly if you're considering an application this year. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. And now we're just going to have a look at the structure of the PME programme. So it's a 2-year programme, and within the 2 years, a student completes 4 semesters. So a semester in Mary I typically runs for 12 weeks. We call it a 12-week teaching semester. And then after that, we have study weeks, we have examination weeks, and we also have teaching practice weeks. So the semester is 12 teaching weeks, but it can run to 16 or 17 weeks, particularly when there is teaching practice or school placement, as we call it, involved. And as you can see on the slide there, a core feature of the programme is school placement. And when we look at the structure of the 4 different semesters, I'll talk to you about the amount of school placement that is involved in the programme presently. The course is a lovely combination of theory and of practice. And the other thing to say is that all students who undertake the PME programme are required to complete 2 tréimhse fálamas sa Gaeltacht. So 2 blocks of 2 weeks in the Gaeltacht. And that Gaeltacht placement generally takes place in between semesters. So in between semester 1 and semester 2 in first year, and then again during the summer semester of first year. So both Gaeltacht placements are complete before you begin second year. And the Gaeltacht placements are made available to students through the Gaeltacht providers. And generally we find that students, you know, particularly for the first Gaeltacht placement, the cohort will go to a particular placement, you know, the majority of the cohort. And it's a lovely opportunity to, you know, really get to know your classmates, as well as obviously immerse yourself in the Irish language. And then the second Gaeltacht placement, there's probably more flexibility to undertake it as suits the students across the summer period of their first year. So we're going to move on now and just have a look at the structure of each semester. Now, I appreciate that the data on this slide is quite small. I wouldn't worry about, you know, it too much, but it's just giving you basically across the 2 years, all of the subject areas in the primary school curriculum are explored. So you can see there language and literacy, which comprises Gaeilge agus Béarla, maths education, ICT and digital learning, religious education, arts education, which comprises drama, music and visual arts. You have multi-denominational RE education, and you have tréimhse fálamas sa Gaeltacht. So in the first semester, you're not exploring every subject in the primary school curriculum. And combined with that, then you're looking at some of the, you know, the philosophy, the psychology, you know, some of the broader theory in relation to primary school education through your modules like child development and pedagogy, your research methods, and your schools and society, which looks at the philosophy, sociology and history of education. You will see there that you've got professional placement 1. So in the first semester of college, for 2 weeks in December, our PME students spend 2 weeks in a school with a partner. So another student in the PME programme, and you go to a school, you teach a certain number of lessons, excuse me, based on the modules you've taught. You haven't looked at PE, for example, you wouldn't be teaching PE to the students. So you would be teaching English, maths, visual arts, music, drama, and obviously embedding your ICT. So that's the first school placement. It's in the first semester of first year. And just to mention to you about the religious education modules while I think of it, currently at the moment, approximately 89% of schools in Ireland are under the management of the Catholic Primary School Management Association. We obviously have schools who are multi-denominational and you know, who look at religion from a broader perspective. We also have Church of Ireland schools in Ireland, etc. Students can undertake religious education, multi-denominational education, or both, you know, when they're doing the PME programme. So you are required to undertake a module in either Catholic religion or multi-DRE, or you can do both, but there is an option there in relation to it. But if you are to teach in a Catholic primary school, you have to have the Cert and the primary RE completed to qualify you to do that. So, you know, we talk to you about that when you have, you know, when you're enrolling on the programme, and just talk to you about the options available. We'll move on then to semester 2. And we're looking at language and literacy again. We're looking at Gaeilge agus Núna na Gaeilge, more maths, educational methodology, and that's just around the methodology of teaching in general. Psychology and assessment, social, personal and health education, or SPHE, the teaching of history, geography and science 1, and education about religion, beliefs and ethics. And then you will see the professional placement 2 comes at the end of this semester. So in April, May of the first year, students again go out to schools. This time it's for a 5 to 6 week placement. You teach for approximately 3 weeks and then you work with support teachers. You get to know the broader work of the school through strand work and associated tasks. So in first year you have 2 blocks of school placement in your across your modules and across the program. We'll move on to second year then, and when we go into the first semester of second year, you're looking at Gaeilge, schools and society, teaching of history, geography, science. We're looking at early primary education, which is, you know, the pedagogy of teaching the infant classrooms, arts education 2, SPHE and PE, excuse me, 2, inclusive and special ed, and you'll see research methods is there again. And you'll see the Tréimhse Fáilme sa Ghaeltacht is there. Now the Tréimhse Fáilme sa Ghaeltacht is normally completed in the summer in advance of September of the second year, but your oral examination takes place during this semester. And finally, we move on to the last semester of the course. And in the last semester, you spend approximately 12 weeks in a school, and this is what we call extended school placement. You teach 2 classes, or you may teach, you know, sometimes the model varies. You teach infants and another class from 1st to 6th during that time, and you also engage in the broader work of the school. You have a professional portfolio to complete, and we look at the completion of that across the 2 years. And bearing in mind that this is a level 9 course, all students have to complete a dissertation for the PME program. So it's the writing of a dissertation thesis, and the research methods modules all the way from first year contribute to supporting you in undertaking that work. So moving along, that just gives us an overview of the course. I just have the website there for you. You can go follow this website and it'll bring you directly to all of the information you require for the PME program, or even just, you know, do a Google search of Mary I College and go onto our website, look for postgraduate programs, and you'll find the PME program and all the information you require there. And finally, I think we're just at the point now, so we'll move on to the next slide, where we're going to open the floor for questions. So that was really just giving you an overview of the application process, the requirements of the application process, and a flavour of what the course is like. So I'll hand over to you, Patrick, in relation to questions, and thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Alex. That was a very detailed presentation, so we might just go to some questions now, if that's okay.
Great, yep.
First question. Hi, I'm just wondering, when you submit an application form, will everyone get called for an interview?
Generally, everybody who meets the requirements will get called for an interview. So that's the requirements in relation to the undergraduate program, that you've got a level 8, or that, you know, you're in the process of just completing it, that you meet the leaving certificate requirements, that you meet the TEG requirements. Generally, you know, once all of those requirements are met, you know, you are deemed eligible to be interviewed for the PME program.
Okay, thanks, Max. Next question. It's a bit of a long one, but it's this person, they repeated their leaving cert. The first time they did 8 subjects and they were happy with their English and French, so they didn't do them the second time. And they want to know, I suppose, just to summarize, they want to know kind of they use, I suppose, results from 2 different leaving certs to show they meet the English requirement, basically.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
so
just to say to you, and to say to all of our attendees here this evening, the Department of Education and Skills have made a very detailed 4-page document, which it's actually 5 pages that I have printed out here in front of me. It's on our website, and it's really going through those ideas of, even if you had your Leaving Cert completed pre the kind of the new system of calculating results, there's a very detailed document on our website in relation to that, and I think that will help to answer all of your questions as well.
That's great, thanks. Next question then. This person wants to know if you have a level 8 third class honours degree plus a level 9 qualification, would this be acceptable? My
understanding is no. The requirement of a level 8 minimum 2.2 degree must be met. However, the best advice I can give is to get in touch with the admissions office in Mary Immaculate College just to double check that, because the admissions office in our college process all of the applications that come in, and the website address is admissions@mic.ul.ie.
Yeah, thanks, Meg. So yeah, it might be worth emailing the admissions office there and just following up on that. Next question then. Do students who completed their level 8 degree in Mary I get any preference?
No. So there is no preference given to any particular, course or any particular degree type or any particular college that you have attended. Once the requirements are met, the interview process is a process that is open to all candidates. You will see on our website that the grading criteria for the interview process is available. So I would obviously strongly encourage you to look at that. And the same process is applied to all students. So there is no favoritism to graduates of the college, etc. It really comes down to the interview on the day and the candidate's suitability and how they present their suitability and their passion and their knowledge, that this is a course they want to undertake.
Perfect. Next question then. This person says they're sitting their Leaving Cert this year. Can they apply for the PME for September 2021? So basically they're waiting on their Leaving Cert Irish results, and they want to know, I suppose, if they do the TEG exam, can they still apply for the PME this year?
No, if they haven't met the requirements, there is a date given until July for undergraduate results to be processed to the college, but the Leaving Cert result is not generally available until August, and things are very up in the air at the moment. We all appreciate with how the process will go. So that person will have to wait until the 2022 intake is underway and the application process is available to apply for the programme.
Yeah, perfect. So I think that person might have to just wait another year. Next question then. This person says, you mentioned the TEG results are valid for 2 years. If I complete the TEG exam in 2021, will that result be available to use for the application for the PME for 2023, or will that count as the 3rd year?
That will count as the 3rd year, is my understanding. So it'll be available, if you've completed this year, it's available for 2021 and 2022, but that is the 2-year period. That's my understanding. And again, I think just double check that in the TEG website, but I'm pretty sure about that.
Okay, thanks, Mags. This person then wants to know, well, this is kind of a statement really. They say, I can't apply because I don't have my TEG exam. I haven't completed the B2 diploma though. or have completed the B2 diploma. So I presume like they're going to have to do their TEG exam anyway if they want to apply.
Yes, and like I've noticed for the last 2 years, Patrick, that TEG have made an additional exam available. But if the closing date has remained at the 14th of February, that process is now closed for this year, and we cannot interview anybody that has not met the level 1 or the level B1 requirement in TEG.
Okay, that seems to be quite clear there. So there's a question on supporting documentation. They want to know, do we attach them to the application form? That's someone, probably a current applicant.
So basically the website will take you through how to upload them to the website. And if there are any glitches or there are any errors, again, I would encourage you to get in touch with admissions@mic.ul.ie. And that's, I think, you know, that question raises a really good point about if you're interested in applying for PME this year, and even though you know the closing date is not until March 29th, I would be getting the process underway sooner rather than later. You know, particularly if you've got all your documentation in order, because it's those glitches that can cause a lot of stress, you know, at the last minute. But you know, the application process itself will guide you through all of those steps.
Yeah, that's good advice, Mags, I think, for anyone who's thinking of applying. We have a question then. This person wants to know, is the letter from the principal just stating you've completed work experience in the school, or is it to be like a referee letter stating how you got on, etc.? No,
it's just a letter to say, you know, X was in this school. You know, it's really just verifying that you undertook the work as opposed to a reference.
Okay, that's great. This question then, this person wants to know, do you submit your transcript to date if you are waiting for results, or do you wait until you get your final year results to do so?
My understanding is you submit your transcripts to date right now, because that indicates to us you're, you know, so far along the process of your undergraduate degree, and then the final results are submitted in due course.
Okay, thanks, Mags. Next question then. This person is wondering, is an academic reference from past lecturers or supervisors needed for the application?
No, it doesn't state so, so that's not necessary.
Okay, perfect. Another question then on the letter. This person wants to know, is a letter from the vice principal sufficient, as I would have worked closer with the vice principal as opposed to the principal during my work experience? Well,
I think the important thing is that, you know, if there's headed school paper or school logo, you know, to verify that it is from a particular school. The expectation normally is that the principal would sign off, but if it is the vice principal, you know, I think that will be accepted, but I would ensure that, you know, there is formal reference or details through headed paper, etc., included to verify the school letter. And that's important regardless of who signs off on the letter.
Okay, another question on TEG again. This person wants to know, can I send in my application before the end of March and apply for and complete the TEG in April or May for the September 2021 start?
No, the application will not be processed unless the TEG result is included with the application. So if you're somebody at the moment who is waiting on your TEG result, you know, it makes much more, it's much more efficient to wait until you have that result. And TEG appreciate that the closing date really for all, like DCU, Mary Immaculate, Freble Department of Primary Education and Reno, you have to have the TEG results to apply to all of those PME programs. And TEG appreciate, you know, that the process is generally in around the same closing date. So they will have the results processed in advance of March 29th. So you wait for that result to finalise your application process. But if your TEG result is not included with your application, you will not be deemed eligible for interview.
Okay, we're back to the question about the letter from the principal again. This person wants to know what does the letter from the principal include, and what is the difference between a reference and a referee?
Okay, well, what I would say is, say for example, if I completed some voluntary work in the local school out the road from me here, the principal would simply put a letter together to say, I wish to confirm that Margaret Nohilly, undertook voluntary work, or you might have been working in the school in another capacity between the period of January to March 2021. Yours sincerely, and that's signed by the principal. A reference, so that's just a verification really that you've undertaken the work. A reference, by contrast, would be the principal commenting on, how you undertook your work. Maybe they would recommend or otherwise you for another position. They might comment on, your work ethic, etc. None of that is necessary. It is just literally a statement to say, I was in this school, in whatever capacity, from whatever time to whatever time.
Okay, thanks, Mags. Next question is, this person said they spent my first semester in second year in the Gaeltacht doing Irish and history. Would that be accepted as necessary time spent in the Gaeltacht?
No. The Gaeltacht for the PME programme is, there are many students who undertake the PME programme who have degrees in Irish. You might have students who have experience of working in the Gaeltachts, etc. The Gaeltacht experience must be undertaken regardless of prior experience. So that it's equitable across the board.
Okay, next question then is from someone who says that the NUIG summer results are due to be released in July. Is that too late for the application for this year?
No, I think once, we appreciate very much at the moment that, circumstances are altered everywhere, and, there may be slight differences by comparison to other years. So, if you have your results and there's a particular date, that will be honoured by the college. And that's because the college, it's part of the agreement, or it's part of, the criteria that your final undergraduate degree results can be processed by the college after the application. So if there's a slight delay with those, that will be sorted out.
Perfect. Next question then, any tips or advice for the interview?
Okay, so the first thing you have to think about is, what is this interview about? This interview is about qualifying to become a primary school teacher. So, I would certainly expect that you would have undertaken some research into primary school education right now, into maybe, any contemporary developments in the area of primary school education. You would have a sense of maybe, some of the issues that are very pertinent to primary schools at the moment. And you would also be prepared to elaborate on your own life experiences, and maybe experiences you've had as a result of pastimes you're involved in, or work experience you've been involved in that relate to children, and also thinking about the particular aptitudes and talents and skills that you have that you feel are suitable to primary school teaching. So they're very important things to consider in terms of preparation for the interview. The other thing I mentioned earlier on was that the grading system for the interview is available online. So that gives you an overview of the different areas that are addressed by those who are interviewing as part of the interview process. And obviously then, I would concentrate my efforts on thinking about those areas and preparing accordingly. But I just think, keeping teaching and learning, keeping children and keeping primary school education at the heart of your focus, in addition to your own experience and your own motivation, the why you want to undertake this course, is really, really important. And the most important thing to bear in, well, not the most important thing, but you know, this course is obviously it's a very popular course. It's a very busy course and it's an intense course, and that's not to put anybody off doing it, but you know, it's important to think about those things and to reflect on those things in your preparation for the interview as well. Because I think, you know, it highlights, you know, that, you know, you are aware of the course and what the course entails. You can see there, you know, there are lots of modules to study. There's school placement to balance. There's the wealth of placements to undertake, you know, all across a 2-year period. And our students do very, very well in the PME course. They are very employable. They are, you know, very sought after by our schools, as all our Mary I graduates are. But it is important to reflect and appreciate on the fact that this course is going to be demanding of you and of your time, and you know that you're prepared for that in addition to preparing for the interview.
Thanks, Mags. So next question then, this person wants to know what's the difference between supporting documentation, supplying your second level results, and supplying a certified copy of academic transcripts?
I probably think that, you know, basically I didn't register when I was preparing for this evening. I didn't register and take myself through the application process on the website. So I was just trying to give you a sense of, you know, you need to fill the application form and then you need to have supporting documentation. And I think what you've mentioned there, your transcripts, your results, they are the supporting documentation. But I suppose it was just making you aware of the fact that you're not simply completing an application form. You do need to have the documentation that proves to the college you've your Leaving Cert, you've your TAG, you've your undergraduate requirements met, and that all forms part of what you submit to the college. And I hope, Patrick, that answers that question okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine, Mags. And I suppose anyone that is currently applying, if you do have a query, you know, the best thing to do is to contact the MIC admissions office at admissions@mic.ul.ie, and they will talk you through any issues that you might be having. We have another question then, Mags. It's similar as well. It seems to be from someone that's currently applying. They want to know, can you start and stop the PME application, or has it to be completed in one go?
And that's a very good question, and one I wasn't really able to get to the bottom of because you know, I didn't register as a student. My understanding is that you can stop and start, but what I would advise you all is maybe just fill in very limited detail at the start, you know, something very easy like your name and address, and then see can you save before you move on, so that you know whether you can go and come back from it.
Yeah, that's great advice actually, Mags. Yeah, best to do that and just see, I suppose. This person then, they were looking on the TAG website, and the next B1 exam is the 8th of May. Would that make it too late to apply for the PME for the coming year? I suppose the answer is yes, it would, yeah, be too late. Next person then, they want to know the 12-week placement in year 2, semester 2 with 2 different classes. Can that be done in the same school?
Oh yes, yeah. So I'll just talk a little bit about school placement for a second. So in the first semester, the 2-week placement you do with a partner, that is sourced by the college for you. So, you know, we generally, students work out of schools in Limerick and the broader Limerick area, such as maybe Clare and Galway, maybe Tipperary, Waterford. So that school, you are placed in the school. Then for the second and third placement, you source the school yourself. But for each placement, you know, you are in the one school. So if you are undertaking an infant placement as part of your final school placement, which you are required to do, the only thing you have to consider is that the school has an infant stream in it. So it wouldn't be allowed, for example, that you do infants in one school and then go up the road to another school and take on the third class. So you just have to choose a school that has an infant stream, because you know, some schools are girls from 1st to 6th, they're all boys from 1st to 6th, and they don't have the infant stream, but the placement is all in the one school. And generally for that placement, students return to, you know, their home school, maybe where they went to school themselves. So we would have students from Donegal over to the Aran Islands, down to Waterford and Wexford, in Dublin on school placement, on their extended placement, because they are generally at home for that placement. And what we normally find, just from a practical perspective, is that our students who are undertaking the PME, if they're not from Limerick and they require accommodation, they will avail of accommodation options in Limerick for the first 3 semesters, but they don't really need accommodation for the last semester, because the portfolio module is largely completed online, and the dissertation you're engaging with the supervisor, and some of those meetings might be face-to-face, but they're always, you know, accommodated around the school holidays, etc. So it generally, you know, we generally find our students, they're looking for accommodation for 3 semesters. And even if they undertake, you know, we often find these swaps happening with students where, you know, there's one cohort coming back from school placement and they take over accommodation from PMEs, but all of that practical stuff works itself out. But to answer the question, it is, you are in one school only for a school placement.
We have another placement question. This person wants to know, in the first placement, do we observe the teacher to begin with, or do we go straight into teaching, basically?
No, in all placements, there's an element of observation. So even when you're on your extended placement, you have an opportunity to observe the teacher teaching the infants, for example, before you engage with the infants, because every teacher is unique in their approach to their classroom management, in their approach to their teaching style. And for, you know, it always works well for consistency for children. Of course, you bring your own ideas and your own style to the classroom, but there may be procedures and practices in place that the teacher has, you know, that will just, infants, for example, they thrive on routine. So there are always opportunities for observation and observing and assisting the classroom teacher.
Okay, next question then. This person wants to know, can you defer a place if you are successful in your interview, and if so, for how long?
And again, that would have to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis with the admissions office. Really, you see, there's no absolute guarantee that the PME programme runs every year. It has run every year for the last number of years, but every year the college wait for the Department of Education to sanction the programme and to sanction the number of places available. So really, you know, that would have to be, that question would have to be taken in consultation with the college. You know, I think that would be my advice on that one, Patrick. I don't know, do you want to add to that?
Not really. I think that's good advice, Max. Yeah, like I suppose if you were lucky enough to get accepted and get a place, and you were thinking of deferring, I think your first port of call would be to talk to the MIC admissions office and just take it from there and see what the situation is. Our next question then, this person wants to know, how important is prior experience for the interview in terms of getting accepted, and would there be any way to get some in the current environment?
Look, you know, I would say it's not, you know, it's not a must-have. You know, all our different experiences help. It's probably very challenging at the moment in the midst of school closures to get some face-to-face experience, but certainly you know, if you wanted to approach a school and if you felt you had something to offer them in terms of even online support, and should our schools reopen in the month of March, you know, there is the opportunity then between March and May to approach a school and possibly in a volunteering capacity, see if there is any opportunity to, you know, support the school. However, you know, the guidelines in relation to social distancing, pods, bubbles, you know, very challenging circumstances for schools at the moment, particularly schools with the large numbers. So, you know, all of that has to be factored when schools will make a response to you. we generally find schools are so willing and so supportive of students and our pupils, and we are so indebted to them. And schools are particularly supportive of their own past pupils, but the current circumstances make it very challenging for schools, you know, because there are just other considerations that schools have to try to adhere to also.
Okay, this person wants to know then, if you have a 1-1 or a 2-1 degree, do you have a better chance than those with a 2-2 degree?
No. Once you meet the requirements, similar to the question, you know, if you have a degree from Mary I, you know, it comes down to the interview on the day. So, you know, obviously, you know, it may present itself, but I would say it would be unfair to say it places you at any particular advantage.
Okay, next question then, how many places are available each year?
So this year, the Department of Education and Skills have sanctioned 60 places on the PME programme, and we generally find we have there or thereabouts every year, we have there or thereabouts 60 places available in the programme.
Next question then, this person says, you mentioned getting a letter from the principal if you've worked with children. Does this apply if you are a children's sports coach? Should I get a letter from my boss?
If you wish to include it, you may.
Okay. Next question then, this person wants to know, is there a preference on QCA?
No, and similar to the first class honours degree, no. It's about meeting the minimum requirements.
Okay, we have another question then. Are there quotas to attract students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds?
So there, yes, there are. And actually in the documentation I referenced earlier, there is information provided by the Department of Education and Skills on student grants, and in some of our courses in Mary I, there are specific places available. It's not quite as specific in the PME, but you know, it's certainly open to all students, again, who meet the requirements to apply. But there are other avenues, you know, by which students can gain access to courses. It might be the Bachelor of Education programme, which is our 4-year teaching programme, but you know, there's certainly information on those. Patrick, you might like to add to that.
No, that's fine, Max. I think you've answered that very clearly. This other person wants to know that if you do not meet one of the Leaving Cert requirements, is there anything that you can do to overcome that situation, or is there a possibility it could be overlooked? Now, they don't say what entry requirement it is.
Okay, so back to the document on the website, the entry requirements. There's alternatives to a second level qualification in Irish outlined by the Department of Education, and there are alternatives to a second level qualification in maths. So rather than go through them here, the list of bullet points, I think I would direct the student to our website, to that document, and you can see if you know, any of those alternatives have been obtained by you or is something you might consider.
Thanks, Max. Next question. This person wants to know, can admissions be reached by email or have they a phone number? So I might just answer that. Obviously, we're all working at home now due to the COVID-19 restrictions. So if you just email admissions@mic.ul.ie, if they're not able to answer your query, then possibly, you know, they could do a phone call or maybe a Microsoft Teams call. But email admissions@mic.ul.ie, it would be your first port of call there. Next question then is from someone. They said they just checked the TEG website, and it said a pass in a TEG exam in 2021 can count towards application in 2022 and 23. Okay,
well, great if that's the case, and my apologies. And obviously the TEG website is the you know, official port of call for that. So it is just best, as I said, to check with the TEG website. And thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, so check with the TEG website, and of course you can check with our own admissions office here as well if you do want to follow that up. This person then, they want to know, do you think the Leaving Cert Irish grade will change for 2022 when applying for the PME?
Because of the fact that it changed this year, I wouldn't, again, we can never say it's a decision by the Department of Education and Skills, but I would anticipate that the grades that will possibly be the same for the next academic year for sure.
Yeah, and I suppose it's now in line with the undergraduate Bachelor of Education, that H4 in Irish as well. So yeah, I wouldn't see it changing in the immediate term anyway. Next question then, as the application is online, do we take pictures of the document and attach them, or should we scan them? I suppose a contact admissions really there, Mags, would it be? And just,
yes, and follow the instructions on the application form.
Yeah, and just admissions at mic.ul.ie there, just give them an email and they'll talk you through it.
Mm-hmm.
Next person wants to know, how do we get our current transcripts? So I suppose if you're an MIC student, that's contact the admissions office in MIC, and likewise if you're from another third level institution, you should get in touch with them as well, I suppose, Max, would you?
Yes, or like you may have a portal that you log into to get your results, and through that portal you may be able to download, your examination results to date. But that's a question for the individual college that you attend, and for the student academic administration or student administration within your own college, because it may vary from campus to campus.
Yeah, and another follow-on question from that then, this person says, if we need a certified copy of our Leaving Cert and our college transcript, does this mean we need to get a copy signed by the Gardaí, or can we use the original document?
The original document is perfect.
Yeah. Question of work experience then, does the work experience on the application have to be part of your level 8 degree?
No, you may have work experience completely separate to your degree altogether, and that's absolutely fine.
Next, and a follow-on question from that then, what would I do if I completed work experience in a school that is now closed down?
You would possibly contact the person that you worked with at the time and ask them to put a letter together, and just note on the letter that this school closed in, whatever date or year that it closed. And I mean, it's very easy for the college to verify that if necessary. So, I think just contact the principal that you worked with at the time and ask them to note on the letter that the school has now closed.
Yeah, good advice. Next question then, would you be qualified to teach in a Gael school after this course?
Yes, and when you are, sorry, I should have mentioned that when you are undertaking your school placements, there is an option to take your school placements in Gael Scolna, no Scolnas Gaeltacht, and also when you are undertaking the Gaelga modules, the Múna Gaelga module, which is preparation to teach Irish, you can differentiate between teaching Gaelga in a Scoil Long Gaelach or Gael Scoil, or teaching Gaelga in an English medium school. So you can choose the course of action that you feel best suits you, your interests, and your own proficiency levels in Irish.
Okay. Will a successful applicant hear back soon after the interview?
So my understanding is that in the fortnight, perhaps after the interview has been completed, applicants will be told of, like, successful or unsuccessful, will be informed, of their of the outcome. And you may find, if you are not successful, that you are number X on a panel, and if somebody doesn't accept their place, you may find then that at a later point in the summer, you are then offered a place. So that can also be an aspect of what happens. But yes, it's generally within a fortnight.
Okay. This person wants to know then, if I completed my placement in my early years degree in a primary school, does that count as work experience, or is the work experience only for subbing?
No, I think it's just about, your work experience can be related to your degree or it can be separate to your degree. And you can have an experience in a primary school without ever subbing in a school. Because the expectation now is that all subs who work in schools are qualified. So many people gain experience, through other avenues in schools.
Okay, and a follow-on question from that. This person wants to know, would we need to have letters from placements or references from early year settings for the application form, or is the principal's letter the only letter we need?
The information that kind of from just an overview of the process without going into it is that the principal's letter is what's required. But again, it just, I have only kind of a snapshot of the process. So I think it just behoves the need for you to get filling that application and giving yourself time to gather up those documents if need be.
Okay, next question then. I already have a reference from a school principal for other applications. Can I use this letter, or do I need to email them and ask for another letter?
I think it should be fine.
Okay. This person wants to know then, how did the first semester go last year with COVID? Was everything online, and did placements still take place?
Okay, that's a very good question. So we have found with all of our courses, not just our PME course, we have been online since last March, and some of our students had opportunities to get to schools physically between September and December, but our PME students, our current PME 1 students, did not complete their 2-week placement in December on foot of the coronavirus pandemic. What we anticipate, or what we are planning for, is that those 2 weeks will be incorporated into the 2 subsequent school placements which remain in April and May of this year, and in the extended placement. And in the absence of that, there was a very particular focus on micro-teaching, which is an element of educational methodology in the college. But we did have to make some adjustments as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. And we do hope, that by September of this year, that colleges, not only Mary I, but across the country, we will be in a better position to resume business as normal. But obviously, we're all in an evolving situation. So, but that certainly is our hope.
Okay, just a question on Gaeltacht placement. This person wants to know, do you need to have 2 months spent in the Gaeltacht before applying for the PME?
No, you don't have to have any Gaeltacht experience to apply for the PME.
Okay. A final question then, I think, because we're already gone over time. Why or what does the English PME interview consist of?
Okay, so I think the best advice in relation to the interview is to go to the marking criteria that are on the college website. And, the interview takes, we have a number of different interview panels that operate across the 2 days. And the interviews, it takes a general focus on yourself, your experience to date, what motivates you to apply for this course, maybe, prior knowledge, experience, gifts, talents, that you bring to the course, maybe some particular questions around education and primary school education at the moment. But obviously, depending on answers, interviews can take, slightly different formats. But I think the grading criteria that is applied to each interview is the important consideration in terms of the format, because all of those areas will be addressed in some capacity.
Thanks very much, Mags. Look, I'm afraid we've ran out of time this evening, so we had a huge amount of questions. I'd just like to thank Dr. Nohilly again for her presentation and for all the time that she gave made herself available there for all those questions. If you do have further queries, I suppose, about the programme, or if you're a current applicant this year, for example, you know, your first port of call should be admissions@mic.ul.ie if you have any questions in terms of the application form. A lot of the information, or all of the information that Dr. Nohilly has gone through this evening, is all available on our website. So if you just look up the Professional Masters of Education at MIC, there's loads of information there that should be able to answer almost all of your queries. And there's also a Q&A platform on our website as well, and on the PME webpage called Pubble. So if you do have a question, you can type it in on that page, send it off, and someone in the college will get back to you with an answer. So the next session in our series will be next Wednesday, that's the 24th of February, from 5 to 6 p.m. and we will be looking at the various postgraduate programs in the Faculty of Arts and the Faculty of Education at MIC, everything ranging from graduate certificate to PhD program. So if that is of interest to you, please do tune in on the 24th of February. You can find the link on the day at Postgraduate Virtual Events on the MIC website. So just thanks again to Dr. Nohilly for giving up her time this evening, and thank you for joining us, and please do tune in again on the 24th of February for the next in our next session in our series. So enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone.